At T-Mobile, our critical mission is providing unparalleled 5G coverage for when connectivity is mission critical. Introducing T-Priority, America's best 5G network experience for first responders, even in times of congestion. More capacity, faster speeds, better coverage. T-Priority from T-Mobile, built for tomorrow's emergencies, ready today. Discover more at t-priority.com.
For qualifying organizations on eligible rate plans, coverage not available in some areas and may be impacted by emergencies.
Howdy, hello, and welcome to another fantastic episode of the Every Pokemon Episode Ever podcast. On tonight's adventure, we will be talking about the 31st episode of the 14th season. That is 690 overall, if you're keeping track at home, and if you are, God bless you. And this episode is entitled Ash and Trip's Third Battle. I, of course, am one of your hosts, Dougie Fresh, and joining me on this adventure is the man who is always messing up dinner. It's Professor Chris G. How are you doing tonight, sir?
Oh, wait, whoa. I prepared dinner tonight, sir.
I can't speak to that. I didn't taste it. I can't speak to that.
Oh, it came out. I had the whole house. I made pork loin. I cut up some onions, stuffed it with some onions, put some onions underneath, cooked it at 375 for 75 minutes, and it was nice and juicy. Boy. And I rubbed some garlic and herb wet rub all over it, mixed in with some meat tenderizer and some salt and pepper, bro.
Yes.
Yeah, just makes your mouth water. I love to cook. I was prepared for that. How are you doing today, sir?
Fucking cold. That's how I'm doing.
Yeah, it is kind of cold. Do you how's your house keeping up with the heat?
The house is fine.
That's good.
It's just the fucking it's slapped in the face on the walk. Like for the first time this year, I've had to bust out the stocking cap.
Oh,
which is fine. I've got multiple stocking caps, and I've multiple stylish stocking caps, and I look good in a stocking cap. But
you wimp! Today wasn't even that cold.
Oh, right off. Because you're right, it wasn't. It's the wind.
Yeah, it was the wind. I had to unplug yesterday and today our Christmas inflatables that we have in the front. And because the wind was just taking it, and it was going to rip these things a new asshole, is what it was.
Yeah, we didn't inflate our inflatables tonight.
Yeah, we didn't either. And someone was putting out some type of bad vibes. We put our Christmas lights all the way around, and in the front we put 8 candy canes going down our driveway and then going all the way down the sidewalk. And we wrapped them in Christmas lights. And the very end of the wrap, like a section of 10 light bulbs went out on the ending section, and then but it was only the middle. So I was able to take some extra Christmas lights that was on the strand, unravel it, and kind of like double wrap it and put it on there so it looks like it's full and like it never went out, but still it was very, very, very irritating.
And of course it's not the whole thing, it's just it's always just a section.
Yeah, and I can hear you say, well, you probably have a loose bulb. No, my ass went out there and tightened each and every bulb up to like 30 bulbs, even on the working ones, and those suckers were not working. It made me so mad. I was out there in the cold last night. The winds hit me in the face. It's a 10, 11 o'clock at night because I was getting ready for bed. And then I look out and I'm like, son of a bitch. So I walked outside. I was like, my yard's not going to look fucking stupid.
Just turn it off and address it in the morning.
No, because then my daughter is wondering why the gingerbread man is not up when she wakes up. She likes looking at the gingerbread man.
Tell her he slept in.
But yeah, there's that. The Christmas elves are out on full force this year. So we've been doing the Christmas elves, and they've been going around and causing a whole bunch of mischief within the house and doing what they do.
Your kids don't listen to this, right?
No, they do not.
I'm glad Elf on a Shelf was not a thing when we were kids.
Same here, bro.
So glad.
Oh man, I'm glad too. Like, I don't know if I've ever told this story on the podcast, but my father had gotten me a Goosebumps Slappy doll back in the day, like a legit like hand puppet, like the legit looking Slappy one, and he liked to play little tricks on me. Like, one day he'll be sitting at my desk that I used to have in my room, or another day he'll be sitting on top of the dresser. Like my father would move him around the room. But one day, and this was the OG Slappy doll, so it was made of like either hard plastic or glass. I don't know what it was, but I had
wasn't glass.
I had a mat, a really hard mat, like underneath my bed, so I would be able to use my rolly chair inside of my room. So one day he put it right next to me to sleep, and it was facing me. So I woke up to staring Slappy in the face, and it terrified me. And I pushed it off my bed, and his head, like the top part of his head, hit the ground and just went shatter. Yeah, I was mad, and that doll cost my dad. I hope it was cheaper back then. But I mean, you go and you look up one of those dolls now, because I got my son well, it's not a generic. I got him the lower brand version of it, because I would have been spending about $300 on that thing, and I bought the $100 one, which you can't put your hand in the puppet, but it has a string on the back that if you pull it, the mouth moves. So that's the one that I got him. But I'm like, the one that my father got me is easily going for about $300 online. Like, it's ridiculous. Ooh. Yeah. So I'm hoping that's one of the like markup values, and it didn't cost that much back then. But yeah.
Yeah, no, I don't think it did. I mean, inflation is a sumbitch,
Dude, okay. Another thing. So you remember those jumpsuits that I used to wear back in high school, right? The Sean John jumpsuits, mm-hmm. They were all like one color, but it was the style back then. So apparently they're back now, and each one of those suits now is going for about $350.
Jesus Christ.
And I'm sitting here, and the only reason I knew about it was because my sister-in-law, she had her 21st birthday party, and the theme of the birthday party was 2000s outfits. And I was going to wear mine, but I had gotten rid of it. So I was searching the garage, and I was like, how much would one of these cost? And I went and looked online. Those suits are expensive. And I remember back when those suits were only like $50 to $75 a piece. And I'm like, I was like, holy crap, that's like quadruple the price for what I paid for one. So
right, exactly.
I'm like, holy shit. But
I seem to remember you having a couple different colors.
I had like 10 of them. I had like an all gold one. I had a gray one. I had a red and black one. I had a red, white, and blue. And then I had a cream color with sky blue. And those are the only ones that I can remember right off the top of my head. But I had like 10 of them inside of my closet.
Seem to remember you steady rocking a dark tan.
I did.
I could be making.
Yes.
Yeah. There you go. There you go.
There's another one. I had a dark tan one too. Yeah. Because that was my shit during the winter. Like I didn't have to have any zip up pants or anything. Just throw that sucker on over my boxers and walk out of the house with just a t-shirt underneath that thing. That thing kept you warm. Those things were really warm.
I bet. Yeah.
So, yeah, I good memories in those jumpsuits. But
okay, well, that's another podcast. That's
shut up, Doug. But today's podcast is brought to you by Pokemon Trader card code VKW NL4KV2MQ6N as in Nancy. Do with it as you please, everybody.
And this podcast is going downhill. I remember he used to repeat that shit.
No, I'm not repeating it because that's giving the poor sucker that's listening to this a chance to go, oh, he's doing this. Oh, he's going to repeat it. No, you're going to go back and rewind this sucker if you want that code for your game. And I know this is going out after the fact, but everybody, the Pokemon Trading Card Game Live is officially live in your area. And all you have to do is go to your iOS store or your Google Play store and download it and play it, everybody. It's not only available in Canada anymore. It's available here in the U.S.
Yeah, those lucky Canucks.
For real. So, all right, bro. We got our preamble out of the way. We got, let's see, do we have anything else? So I am in post-game for Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. I would not be ruining the game for anybody, but I would just say it is worth playing, everybody. And if you're out there and there is, as of right now, there is version 1.0.1. Do not update that version yet. If there is a version to be updated in the future right now. I'm talking about today is November 30th. And yeah, there's a way to duplicate your items, everybody. So go ahead and duplicate your items without actually having to cheat in the game. I'm not going to tell you how to. Go online and look at Blaine's or at Austin John Plays. I will give them both shout outs on this show because I am currently trying to get Austin John Plays to come onto our podcast. So hopefully things will line up after the Pokemon hype kind of goes down.
Exactly, yeah.
Yes. What's that?
But yeah, isn't that funny that if there's a glitch that benefits the players, that shit's patched overnight. But if it's a glitch affecting players not being able to get certain items or make progress, that just hangs out. And every once in a while you get, like, from a support account, we're aware of X issue and we're working on a fix. It's like you've been working on a fix for a month and a half.
Yes, I feel like that's WWE 2K, and I don't know if it's happened in Madden, but
it has. Big time. This game. This game came out broken.
I'm sorry. But yes, everybody. If you have beaten the main story of the game, there is a way for you to ride your partner Pokemon that you can ride. And if you ride it and catch a Pokemon and hit a certain 2 buttons at the same time as you do this thing post game, and you happen to have a Master Ball just in your inventory, you can get 2. just throwing that out there, and then you can duplicate that and get 3, and then get 4 and 5.
Oh, wait a minute. Wait a minute. You're not duplicating it because that's just times 1. Duplicate would be 2 to 4 to 6 to 8.
Well, you're duplicating the one you have multiple times because you have to give it to your Pokemon to hold. For some reason, when you do this sequence, it copies your Pokemon that's holding it and puts it into your box.
I gotcha.
And the Pokemon will still be holding that item that it was duplicated with, which helps you out in the game, everybody. I'm just throwing that out there. It definitely 100% helps you. So, and especially if you're trying to level up your Pokemon and there's some XL candies out there that helps you level up without losing certain stats, just fucking grind that shit before it gets patched, because once it gets patched, you're going to be pissed. So just go ahead and do that, everybody. I'm sure it's gonna be patched by the time that this episode comes out onto the free feed. But
I'm sure I would be stunned.
For any of you Patreon owners that play this game, definitely get that done like yesterday. So so go ahead and make sure you play the game before it gets patched. All right, bro, you ready to jump on into this week's episode?
I am. I just want to throw out there, because we're just kind of in the rambling phase, and this has nothing to do with anything. I just happen to be scrolling before we start. One thing I've noticed they've started doing on YouTube as it pertains to wrestling is they've started putting spoiler warnings on stuff.
Yes.
And I very much appreciate that.
Okay.
Because it's Wednesday, so I've rammed past several things, I'm assuming pertaining to Dynamite, and they've all had a spoiler card in front of it, and I greatly appreciate it. Because before it's like splam special, secret debut. It's like, son of a bitch.
Yeah, I try to stay away from that as much as I can. Sometimes I have the inevitable happen, so we will see. We'll see what happens on tonight's show. I think they're in Indianapolis tonight. So
yes, they did a WWE route. They were in Chicago last week, and they just shot up to Indy this week.
Yes,
and they've also done Chicago to Milwaukee in the past. So
yes, they have, and I do give them credit. I am so glad I did not buy a Chicago ticket last week, because I would not have been able to make it because I was under the weather. But and I was not going to infect everybody with my sickness again, like I did at the beginning of the pandemic. Because last time I did that, the whole world shut down.
Oh, I'm on this fucking podcast with patient goddamn zero.
Yes, for real.
Oh man.
All right, bro. Let's jump on into this week's episode. And this episode, again, is Ash and Trip's third battle, everybody. Third time's the charm, right, Doug?
We hope so, for Ash's sake.
Yeah, for real. So, all right. We start this week's episode, but give me another second. My wife just walked.
Okay.
Pausing. Okay. All right, and we start this week's episode with Silent preparing a dish, and it's pretty funny that, because we find out Silent just has no chill when it comes to preparing a nice little dish. Doug, I'm gonna ask you to start this week's episode, because for whatever reason right now my video has stopped playing for whatever. There we go. I got my video up.
Yeah, so basically, Silent's talking about the fresh ingredients and the aromas, and he looks at Pansage. He goes, "You smell those too, don't you, Pansage?" And Pansage and Silent are obviously simpatico, because that's his Pokemon. He says, this is a dish that incorporates the forest's essence, and and we pan up and we see Ash and Iris are swinging on vines, like they're straight out of Tarzan, and we're reminded of kind of, their kid-like nature, because they're younger than Silent. I don't know if it's ever said clearly, but because Silent was
I believe Iris is 12, Ash is 10, and Silent obviously is a young adult.
Yeah, because he was a gym leader.
Yes.
Not that means anything, but it denotes some type of adultship. They're swinging, and they're like, "Hey, come on, Silent, come here and join the fun." And Silent's just stirring his pot, and
he's like,
trying
no, thank you.
It's like, nope, somebody's got to cook dinner. And the Pokemon are kind of following like they're watching a tennis match. And, Axew and Pansage have this kind of awestruck look. And Pikachu's like, oh, there's something bad's going to happen at some point. And they're just going back and forth. And then leaves from the trees start falling into Silent's pot. And he's like, oh, my dish is compromised.
And you would think that the leaves would be a little helpful for Silent looking at what's inside of the pot, but apparently he didn't want leaves in his pot, in his soup, Doug.
And he freaks out. He goes, would you stop it? And then, the pot flies up and the table kind of comes apart, and the soup, the soup starts falling, and then we kick into the theme song, which I thought there was a skip intro button on Amazon.
There was, but for some reason it's not working. It finally showed up on the title card on the Amazon version, which doesn't make any sense.
Because that helps.
Yes, but
so.
But yes, so from here, Silent looks defeated because his pot has fallen onto the floor, and and his soup is all over. Which, I mean, I'm gonna look at this soup. I think he was making chicken dumplings, which at that point, yes, I can understand to an extent, but he could have taken a few leaves out of there. But that chicken dumplings actually look pretty damn good. But you have Ash and Iris apologizing. Silent's on the ground. He's completely defeated. Axew's trying to give him his spoon back, like, it's okay. Pansage is patting him on the back going, it's okay, brother. Pikachu doesn't know what to think. And Silent just looks up and he's like, look, you two, do you have any idea what this means? And he's like, on this beautiful afternoon, we now have nothing to eat. And Iris is like, of course we do. And she just pulls out a couple apples out of her sleeve. And she's like, here's one for you, and here's one for you, Ash. And Ash is like, oh, this is good. And Silent's like, well, I mean, it is fresh. He's like, well, I'll simply make lunch once again. So if you had nothing to eat, how can you go and make food again? I mean, he's just being a little brat. I think Silent, something happened off screen that we don't know about that's been kind of ticking at Silent, because Silent was just on edge, and this ain't the first time. I mean, this is the first time, but this is not the last time that he's gonna freak out.
No,
not at all. And
I mean, let's give Iris a little bit of credit for at least having apples ready just in case, to tide people over. But like you said, yeah, it's like, oh, we have nothing to eat. Well, I'll just make lunch again. Well, it's like, well, okay, so what the fuck,
Exactly. And honestly, it's kind of his fault. I mean, there were leaves some leaves dropped into the chicken dumplings, but he didn't have to full blown swing the soup onto the ground. So, I mean, that's him for not having control of his feelings, right, Doug?
I would say so. I mean, look, I'm not saying that he didn't have any right to be upset that his meal got ruined, but you can't go from, oh, the meal's ruined for the day to, oh, that's okay, I'll just remake it.
Exactly.
So it's like, yeah, that's inconvenient, but that's also being ruined and having to remake it are two different things. So I don't know. And like you said, you could just pick those leaves out. Yeah, they're going to get into the broth a little bit, but you're cooking outdoors.
Exactly. So, and you're cooking underneath trees. It's not like you're sitting there and throwing up camp in the middle of a city or something. So
right, and you could have easily put up a piece of canvas or something.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, he needs to chill a little bit.
So, but Ash comes back and he's like, "Man, I feel so bad now." And Iris is like, "Well, it is your fault that you ruined lunch." And Ash is like, "What do you mean? It was my fault." And she's like, "You're the one who said we should swing from the trees." And Ash comes in. He's like, "I just wanted to show that you're not the only one that can swing from trees." And Iris comes back and she's like, "Oh yeah, let's just see who's the better swinger." So she asks Ash to she asks Ash to go and challenge to see who's the better swinger between the two. And she's like, "Let's swing all the way down to that oranberry tree, all the way in the back, and whoever gets there first wins." And Ash is like, he's like, "Wait a minute, hold on. Which oranberry tree?" She's like, "That one, all the way over there." And Ash is like, she's like, "Look, to the right of that really tall tree." And Ash looks, and by golly, I mean, right next to this really, really tall pine tree in the very back of this forest, there's an oranberry tree. And Ash is like, "Oh, you can really see that far?" And she's like, "Yeah." And then they just jump up into a tree. They each find a vine, and they just start scaling, and they're going down. Iris is in first, Ash is in second, and Ash is like, "Oh, I'll catch up to you. I'm just getting warmed up." And the funniest thing happens, and now I'm going to pass this over to you, Doug. He's going to swing to another vine. He completely misses the vine. He falls onto the ground, and him and Pikachu just go tumbling down this hill. And Doug, go ahead and take it over, my brother.
Yeah. So as they're beginning their long tumble down, Iris has enough presence of mind to look back and go, "Oh, I'm by myself." And, that's the last we see of her for a minute. And then we see a Vanillite.
Yes.
Is getting ready to do an attack. And it sends a ice beam on a
Palatoad. Or Palpitoad.
Palpitoad. And the Palpitoad is stuck. And we pan up and we see Trip has a Pokeball in his hands. And he's like, "All right, Vanillite, nice work. We caught a Palpitoad." And he throws the Pokeball. And, the Palpitoad, he's caught because he can't move. And wouldn't you know it, comes sliding down right in the path of the Pokeball and gets hit square in the face. And, he comes tumbling down, knocks the Palpitoad, which knocks the Palpitoad out of the ice, and Pikachu comes down onto Ash, and Palpitoad gets up, and he's woozy because he just had a human child land on him, and he kind of regains his composure, and he starts bailing, and Ash never missing an opportunity to identify a strange Pokemon because he travels in a bubble. Says, "Oh, hold on." And he holds out his Pokédex, and we find out that Palpitoad is a vibration Pokemon, and Palpitoads are able to live above and on dry land, above water and in the water, and it is known to capture prey by using its long, sticky tongue. And the Palpitoad's like, "Well, I'm gonna dip," and he ducks back into the water, and Ash goes, "Oh well, there that goes," and Pikachu's like, "Oh shit," and then from off camera we hear, "Hey kid," from Trip, and Ash turns around, and this is the first time they come face to face, even though shouldn't Trip have seen him because he came down in the path of his Pokeball, but I'm just picking at nits at that point. And, Ash goes, "Oh my god, it's Trip." And then he immediately pans over to Vanillite because, once again, unfamiliar Pokemon. And this is when we find out that Vanillite is a fresh snow Pokemon. Boy, these are getting really specific.
Yes. It gets even better when you get further into the series, bro.
I want to find the melted snow Pokemon. The shit that you leave under the car. But yeah, the fresh snow Pokemon. Vanillite. We find out that Vanillite's breath is more than 50 degrees below zero, aka weather in the neighborhood today. I'm that bad, I'd be dead.
Basically, when it breathes, just from its breath, it can cause snow.
Kind of like that. What's that gum brand? Is that Icebreakers?
Yes, Icebreakers.
Yeah. Ash is the audience. He's like, "Oh, cool, it's an ice type Pokemon," and we're going, "Oh, no shit." And then this is when Trip immediately turns on the douchebag meter, and he goes, "Just so you know, people don't usually end up, getting caught by Pokeballs themselves. It's pretty basic stuff. You just got to pay attention."
Just being a complete douche. Like, come on, man. But yeah, but Ash looks over. He's like, "Man," he's like, that is an ice type Pokemon. And Ash is like, he's like, "Sorry, did I keep you from catching that Pokemon?" And Trip is like, he's like, "Yeah, big time." And here comes Iris, and Iris is like, "Oh, there you are." And she jumps down, and she turns around, and she sees Vanillite and just stammers. She's like, "Oh my god, it's an ice Pokemon. What is wrong with you?" And Trip looks at her, and he's like, "Well, what's wrong with you?" And she's like, "It's an ice Pokemon. Get it away from me." And Trip's like, "Man, what a weirdo." And Trip calls Vanillite back into its Pokeball. And he's like, "Next time, stay out of my face." And Ash is like, "Okay, sorry, Trip." And then he looks over at Iris. He's like, "Iris, are you okay?" And then she goes on to explain, so I don't have to read word for word, that dragon Pokemon have a disadvantage to ice-type Pokemon. So she doesn't like ice-type Pokemon. She's like, "So since Axew has a disadvantage to ice types, I really don't like cold temperatures either." And she's like, "I think raising dragon types rubbed off on me quite a bit." And she's like, "But if people from the village of dragons like dragon Pokemon so much, it's kind of hard to say." She's like, though the elder, and Trip kind of overhears this, and he's like, "Well, hey, you're a dragon. You're from the village of dragons, huh?" And she's like, "Yeah." And he's like, and that's why you train in Axew. He's like, you're the first one I've met from the village of dragons. And then he goes and he takes a picture of Iris. And then he goes over and he's taking a picture of Axew. And Iris is like, this is kind of an invasion of privacy. I didn't say that you could take my picture. And Trip is like, true. Do you know you're not making any sense though to be scared of an ice type Pokemon just because it has a disadvantage to dragon types? He's like, but you don't mind hanging out with Axew. And she's like, yeah, so. And it's at this point that both Ash and Trip kind of make Iris feel dumb because dragon type Pokemon are also weak to other dragon type Pokemon. And Trip is like, yeah, this is basic stuff. He's like, man, it seems to me that being scared of ice type Pokemon won't help you become a dragon master. He's like, you're being disrespectful to ice type Pokemon. Yeah, she really is. Doug, you want to take it over from here, bro?
He's just sitting there like, I'll be disrespectful. And then we go back and we see that Silent is preparing round 2, and he says, oh man, what a fragrance. And he gets away with it because he's actually cooking. So I'm not going to bust his chops. It's still a dumb line, but it makes sense because he's literally stirring a pot. And he's proud of his dish, and he should be because it's the second time he made it.
Yes.
And Pansage is just, he's ready with a ladle. He's like, and he's like, all right, looks like it's dinner time. And he kind of, does the whole come and get it, dinner's ready. And it's finally lunchtime. And obviously he doesn't get any response. And he's like, boy, I really hope they would stay close. And
well, last time they were close, Silent, you sat there and you read them the whole Bible. Like, come on, man.
Yeah, so you can't, pick a lane, really. He's like, that's no loss. I'll make something else with this peach berry. And he holds up a pink-looking berry, and Pansage is like, all right. And we cut back to Ash and Iris and Trip, and he goes, hey kid, and Iris is like, are you talking to me? And he's like, let's have a battle. And Ash is like, now hold on, if everybody's going to have a battle here, it's you and me. And because Ash can't hear battle and not be involved, he's got an itch.
Yeah, for real.
And Trip kind of stands there and he's like, playing that he's not interested, but I think he's like legitimately not interested.
Well, he's not because I mean he looks right over at Ash and he actually explains. He's like, I haven't had the chance to battle against a dragon type Pokemon trainer yet, so this would be his first time to be able to fight a dragon type, which would be Ash.
And he's like, you must have more Pokemon than just Axew if you're training to be a Dragon Master. And this is when we get a shot of Iris, and she's like, about that. And,
we get a shot of her thinking of her Excadrill.
And her Emoga. And even the Emoga in her mind giving her like sassy pose, and even runs away. I forgot that it ran away. It even runs away in her fantasy, and she's like, "Well, see, what happened was I'm not really in my top form today," and it's like, I don't even know what that means, and that's very disappointing, and. Ash is sitting there like a little puppy with a new toy. He's like, come on, battle me. I'm right here. I got a Pikachu on my shoulder. I've got other Pokemon that I haven't properly trained. Come on, let's battle.
And I'm gonna throw out like something from the new Pokemon game with you saying that, Doug. I mean, as you know, your rival's name is Nemona. I think that's how you pronounce it. Nemona or something like that. And all she does is she just wants to battle. And after you beat her in a battle, she throws up her hands. She's like, "Oh, you were such a great. I was just getting warmed up. You know what? Let's go and have another battle." And she's consistently getting cut off by you being tired from the first battle and not being ready for the next battle. But she is consistently wanting to battle you. So I feel like that's kind of how Ash is being in this episode of Pokemon. Just wanted to throw that out there.
Well, and I mean, it makes sense because for lack of a better term, it is his show, but there's being persistent and there's being annoying.
Yes.
But so he's like, I'll beat you this time. And Pikachu's like, that's right, goddamn right, let's go. And and Trip's like, if I battle with you, my Pokemon aren't going to get any stronger. Like Trip is very practical and matter of fact. He doesn't have time to entertain Ash's whims. He's like, no, I have a goal, and I'm pissed at you already for your general existence, and then you cost me that earlier, and now you're just being like a little gnat. And Ash is like, pump. And he's like, this has been a complete waste of time. He's like, I'm going to go try to find that Palpitoad.
So he starts walking away, and it's funny because this is the one and only time, well, not one and only, but one of the only times that Iris actually came in handy. And Iris is like, well, she's like, it's obvious he doesn't think that he can beat you in a Pokemon battle, so he's just going to go and walk away. What a little kid. And
is calling somebody a little kid the equivalent to saying somebody has a small dick? Because I mean, it stops every guy dead in their tracks.
It reminds me, I just watched that one movie with Will Ferrell and it's Will Ferrell and what's his name, the guy that plays Deadpool, Ryan Reynolds. Yes, they're in a Christmas movie called Spirited, and in the movie, there's a term used that used to be an insult back in the day, and it was "good day, sir." And they made a whole song off of just that one. And every time I hear "What a Kid" now, I think about that movie, because every time someone say "good day, sir," they're like, "Oh, the nerve!"
Yeah, I saw it because I think Farrell was on one of the late night shows talking about it.
Yes, it's if you're interested in a good musical, because I fancy myself that I love Christmas musicals. I love musicals in general, but I love Christmas musicals, and just those two in this movie just made that movie so much fun, and it's so funny, especially just having those two. So if you want something to watch during the holidays, or I guess this will be going out on the free feed after the holidays, but if you want something funny to watch, definitely give Spirited a watch. It's very, very funny. So
it's on my list. That's on there. They did not a remake, but an update to A Christmas Story that went out on.
That's good. We watched that. Yeah, we watched that one as well. I've been on. My wife has been rolling her eyes, but I've been on the big holiday kick. For Halloween, I was watching Halloween movies almost every single night, and when it came down to Christmas now, I'm just full blown, just going all in for Christmas. And we even got the Christmas music playing in the car, which my wife hates, but it's the holiday. It's the only time of the year that you can really kind of do this kind of stuff. So I thoroughly enjoy it. She calls me Tiffany.
She calls you Tiffany.
She does.
But one thing I am looking forward to, and I didn't know when it was coming out, and it came out, I think, the 25th of November. So what was that? Tuesday? Question? No, I don't know. Yeah, no, I don't know. Like Monday, I think, maybe. The Guardians of the Galaxy Christmas special.
That was good too. My son woke up that morning and was like, "We need to watch this." And it came out the day after Thanksgiving.
So was that Friday then? Yeah.
Yeah, and we sat down, and it's a good 45. I think it was 45 or 50 minutes, and that was a great watch as well. So
yeah, I'm looking forward to that. That's on my list of things to watch this weekend. That's at the top.
Yes, definitely get that one watched. It doesn't tie into any other Marvel thing, but it's just nice to see all of these characters from the Guardians of the Galaxy do like a really good like Christmas special. So
yeah, it's like an extended version of one of those Simpsons shorts. It doesn't mean anything, but it's still fun to watch.
Yes. So definitely give those a watch, everybody. There you go. Your recommendations from Professor Chris G and Dougie Fresh.
Yeah. And if you skipped it because we started talking stuff that wasn't Pokemon, shame on you. Go back and re-listen.
Exactly.
Content. So, yeah, Trip got stopped dead in his tracks because Iris pulled the kid card on him. And, like, well, God damn it, now I have to show you and get it through your thick head. And Ash is like, oh, ho, ho, ho.
I have 3 badges, And Trip always has to come back. He's like, yeah, well, I have 4 gym badges. And Ash is like, well, damn. He's like, but all my Pokemon are a lot stronger than last time. He's like, how about a 3-on-3, best 2 out of 3 wins? And Ash is like, all right, I'm up for a full battle. And he's like, and I hope I'm not wasting my time. Let's just get this done. And Ash is like, all right. He's like, you're going to be shocked at how strong I've gotten. And they switch to another scene where they are on 2 sides of a field. Trip sends out his Servine, and Servine just comes out, and it just looks all sorts of kept up and leaves brushed and everything. And Ash is like, all right, well, since you're going to send that out, I'm going to send out my Snivy. And Iris is on the side. She's like, oh, he's relying on Spirit again. Oh,
she's like immediately defeated. She's like, son of a gun.
We get the Who's That Pokemon, and it's Vanillite again. Oh, or not again, but it's Vanillite, which is great because he's actually in this episode. I do want to point out, though, this photo makes it seem like Vanillite just farted in the Who's That Pokemon, because it just has like these little puffs of blue smoke coming out of it.
I'm glad you went to farted as opposed to just put away its vape.
Yeah, for real. But Vanillite is this week's Pokemon. We go back to Silent. Silent is now done making what looks like dessert. Pansage comes down, and everyone's all ready to eat, but our heroes are nowhere to be found. And they're like, oh, did I yell at them too much? He's like, this is not good. All my food is going to end up going cold. He's like, you know what? All right, then. I'll make a full course meal then. Well, I mean, if you had all this food, what was with the yelling earlier, Silent? So.
Yeah, I'm serious. Like, because he was, like, completely dejected. He's like, that was the only meal we were going to eat for a week. Now we're all going to starve. And now he's just eating because Silent has a problem.
Just a little bit. But we go straight from that. We're back to our battle scene. And Doug, I'm going to have you start off this battle between Snivy and Servine.
So Trip is kind of throwing shade on Ash because his Snivy hasn't evolved. So Trip says, Snivy might have beaten Servine before, but it won't happen again. If you insist on being stubborn and not evolving your Pokemon, you really need to get with it. And, old Ash doesn't really force his evolutions. He just kind of has evolutions fall into his lap, or he just catches a Pidgeotto, because, that's a thing that can happen.
Well, I will not tell you what I was doing in Pokemon Violet because I was so irritated that I had to go through the game again after getting to a certain point in Pokemon Scarlet and not being able to trade my Pokemon to myself because I was playing it on the same damn Switch. So yeah, I was busy. Yeah. So I was busy catching all sorts of evolution Pokemon and okay, I'm just going to make you have a baby with a Ditto so I can get your baby form. So that's what
Boy. So Ash is like, hey, I'm just going to keep doing it my way. And Trip has a great line here. He's like, oh, this must be how they operate in the boonies. And Trip has, he's like, you've got to be kidding me if you think you're going to become a Pokemon master. And Ash is like, Ash is speaking in T-shirts. He's like, the bigger the dream you have, the better. And
Trip is like, yeah, just keep on yapping. So when you lose this, it'll make it even much sweeter.
Or Axew's sitting there falling asleep, and Iris is just watching this ping pong. I mean, it's turning into a pissing contest before it's turning into a Pokemon battle.
For real. She's like, are you guys going to continue yapping, or are you going to get this battle? And Ash is like, ready to rock Trip, and Trip is like, yeah.
Lord. So Servine fires the first shot with a Leaf Tornado,
which is a pretty cool move.
And Snivy counters with I'm not throwing shade, but admittedly a pitifully looking Leaf Storm.
Yes.
And gets completely swept, just completely swept up in it. And Iris is, I think, being a little generous, and she's like, oh, they're kind of even. I mean, yes, in a way they are, but not really.
Yes.
And sends
Servine to use cut.
Servine out for a cut, and Ash tells Snivy to use Attract, and Servine immediately counters with a Leaf Tornado, and it nullifies the Attract. And Ash is like, son of a bitch, that's my ace in the hole. And he says, unlike your Snivy, who seems to be stuck in neutral, Servine's, steadily gaining levels and experience. And Ash is like, he gets me with his logic every time.
And Ash comes back and he's like, Snivy trains really well too. Doesn't matter if we can't use a trap. And Trip is like, huh? Well, all right, Servine, show him how strong you really are. And he's like, cut, let's go. And Ash is like, Snivy, Leaf Blade. And they both hit, and it looks like Snivy got its cut in on Snivy, and it was a critical hit because Snivy just goes down to the ground. And Trip is like, Servine's not losing to you twice. He's like, it's obvious how much stronger we've become, a lot stronger than you two for sure. And Iris is over in the corner. Can't argue with that fact.
I mean, the proof is in the pudding. And, Ash is like congratulating Snivy on a good attempt. And, Trip calls back a victorious Servine. And now we get to see the Ash Ketchum schedule battling from behind.
Yes, and if you're keeping track at home, this is the best of 2 out of 3 series, and Trip is 1-0 so far, everybody.
So, Trip offers Ash, the ability to just cut bait now. He's like, you seriously want to keep going? You clearly haven't gotten any better. It's the same moves. It's, all you have is grit, and, I'm presenting you with a clearly better strategy, and all you've got is T-shirt slogans. And he's like, you're seriously going to stand here and waste my time? He's like, this is amazing.
Yeah, and then we find out from here that Ash doesn't know about the next, he's like the champion, about a Pokemon champion. And Trip is like, you don't know the champion? And Ash is like, awesome, there's a champion in Unova too. And Iris, of course, has to butt in again with her skills. She should be on Ash's side. She's like, of course there is. Yeah, there is, Ash. Haven't you heard of Alder? And Ash is like, huh? She's like, Alder's the only champion master of the Unova region. Everybody dreams of battling against Alder. And he's like, cool. Have you ever met him? And she's like, no, Ash, I haven't. And Ash is like, have you ever met him? And he's like, you bet. And Ash is like, so is he nice? He's like, why don't you find out for yourself? And Ash is like, I'm just asking. And Trip is like, all right, next, let's keep battling. Battle with everything you've got, no matter who you're up against. That's what Alder would say. And then he looks down at his Pokeball. Doug, go on for this next part of the battle.
So, yeah, then we get a flashback of a young Trip meeting Alder at like a demonstration, and he's like, the elder asks, he's like, what do you want to be when you grow up? He's like, I want to be a champion. And he's like, well, you keep training and I'll make sure to stay champion, so when you're ready we can have a battle. And his Pokemon, I had this problem earlier, it's a
Buffalant.
So yeah, we had that little flashback, and Trip throws out a timber.
Yes, a timber.
If you're keeping track at home, that is spelled Timburr. Tim. Basically, Tim is cold.
Yes. Basically think of a tree falling. Timber. There you go.
Oh, that's clever. That's clever.
So, and Ash, of course, takes out his Pokédex, and he's like, oh, we find out Timber, the muscular Pokemon. And we also find out that Timber always carries a wooden beam, and it says when it can easily lift its heavy burden, it is close to evolving. And Ash is like, I can't wait to have a battle with the champion someday, but I guess right now I'm going to have to fight you. So Oshawott, come on out. So Oshawott comes out. I'm surprised that Trip didn't have anything to say about Oshawott. Oh, your Oshawott hasn't evolved yet either?
You can only really play that card one time. I mean, because you could say that about Ash's whole party at this point, except for Pikachu, you could still use a stone, but...
Yeah. Which I'm glad I didn't have to evolve my Pikachu in my game. In the part where I'm at, there was like 20 million wild Raichu just running around, and I was able to catch a really high stat Raichu.
Are you serious? Now they're just giving out Raichu?
Oh, dude, if you're lucky enough in the game, you can get every Eevee evolution in the game by finding it in its habitat, but it's only in specific parts, and you have to be very lucky to find them. But you can literally catch every single Eevee evolution in this game, so you don't have to evolve your own.
Ooh.
Yes. But the only caveat to that is if you evolve your own, the stats are better. But if you do catch a wild one, the stats are decent, but they're not great. So you still have an incentive of catching your own Eevee and evolving it with its own stone. So, yes.
And, obviously there's enough Eevee evolutions now that you could still probably do. You could obviously do a whole party of Eevee evolutions.
Yep, there's 6 evolutions.
There's only 6.
Well, no, actually, no, there are more. There's let's see, Jolteon, Flareon, and Vaporeon, Umbreon, and let's see, we got Leafeon. We have, I'm trying to think of this off the top of my head. I'm going to pull it up real quick because now it's going to bug me, everybody, until and let's see.
While you're doing that.
Yes.
So Ash goes out his Oshawott.
Here they are. There's 8. You got Sylveon, Espeon, Flareon, Glaceon, Jolteon, Leafeon, Umbreon, and Vaporeon. So you have 8.
Okay, for some reason I thought they would be up to like 16 by now. I don't know.
Yeah, well, I'm not spoiling anything out there for the game, everybody, but I thought that they were going to add a new one because we still don't have a ghost version. We have a fairy. Let's see, a fairy, a dark, a fire, ice, an electric, a leaf, a water, and I'm not sure what this one is technically. It is psychic. Okay, so and we got a psychic type. So yeah, we don't have a dragon type Eevee yet. We don't have a ghost type. We don't have a ground type. Like there's a lot that they can do with Eevee. So and I'm hoping that with the update that there will be an Eevee update, but that's yet to be determined as of yet.
Yeah, because I was going to say, because now that Pokemon is basically operating like every other game, and there's DLC and there's updates that you can just patch in. I mean, I'm going to say I'm surprised there's not like 27 different varieties at this point.
Yeah, me too. But for right now, there's no new one in this game yet, but you can catch them all in the wild.
Up to people hearing this on the free feed and go, wait till he gets to the Ivy update or the Eevee update.
For real. All right, Doug. Let's go ahead and continue this episode because we actually only have a few minutes left.
So basically, Oshawott, comes up to. Timber, like his typical big dick swinging Oshawott. And Timber kind of presents his 2x4. He's like, on guard. And Oshawott's like, well, you see, the thing about this is that, and he like immediately ducks behind Pikachu. And he's like, you got this, bro. You haven't really done anything yet. I mean, I don't want to leave you sitting on the sidelines. I don't want to be selfish. It's all you, homie. And
and Ash looks right over and he's like, you got this. You got your Shala back, right?
And Oshawott's like, oh, right, bet. And he's like, I got this. He's like, and he pats his chest and Trip's like, oh, this should be fun. And Ash is like, all right, I got first go. And he tells Oshawott to use Aqua Jet. And if you've been paying attention during this little black and white run, you know that Oshawott has a little bit of trouble with the Aqua Jet.
Just a little bit.
Poor guy can't control his curveball. And
Iris is over here throwing shade too. Oh, not again. I mean, nobody's talking about your Axew and its Dragon Rage, but
or the fact that your damn it, what's our other Pokemon that doesn't come out?
Excadrill
doesn't
even come out and keeps itself in its shell all day.
Or the fact that your Emolga is being a diva. So let's not,
I mean, she's nowhere to talk.
Oh yeah, basically, Trip had Timber ready to use Strength, and Oshawott just went pew, and Trip's got his head in his hands. He's like, "Look, I mean, what are we doing here? Are you just jacking around? I mean, what?"
And it's at this point that Oshawott gets embarrassed / pissed, and he's like, "I'm gonna do it again." So he goes and uses Aqua Jet, and he definitely does it again. He swirls around all in the air, and Trip is like, "I still think you're playing." And it's at this point that Oshawott does its Aqua Jet right around Trip's head. Trip takes out his camera, and he's taking pictures of Oshawott, and Oshawott goes and just crashes right into the ground. Looks like he's kind of delirious a little bit. And Timber is like, I don't want to fight this Pokemon that can't even control itself in the battle. Ash gets pissed off. He's like, what are you doing taking pictures in the middle of a battle, huh? And Trip is looking at the picture that he just took, and he's like, see for yourself. He's like, your Oshawott closes its eyes while it's using its Aqua Jet, so it can't see where it's going. And Ash is like, oh my gosh. And Trip is like, I'm amazed Oshawott can pull it off at all. That makes Oshawott special in a certain kind of way. And Oshawatt's like, thank you. Thank you. I know I'm special.
That's one of the episodes. That's 10 out of 10 would recommend.
And Iris is like, that wasn't a compliment, Doug.
It's even better because as Oshawatt's doing like his parade float, like, thank you for coming out and seeing me. Timber's kind of looking at him like, dude, that's not a compliment. Iris says that's not a compliment, and Trip is once again throwing shade. He's like, "Oh, good," and Oshawott that can't even
open its eyes in water.
And Ash is like, "Did you know you were doing that, Oshawott?" And Oshawott's like, "Well, you see, what happened was," and Ash is like, "Oh, don't worry, well." You worked hard to learn it, and you learned it in the first place. Now you just got to remember to open your eyes, and you won't miss. You'll have it down 100%. And that's why it's like bet. And Trip for like the 7th time in this battle is like, are we continuing or? Because, I mean, I could go find that Palpitoad again.
I can go find that Palpitoad. I can go get my 5th and 6th badge within 24 hours.
I can go beat the champion. I got shit I could do. So we're back with Timber and Oshawott. And Ash tells Oshawott to use Razor Shell. And Timber counters with Low Kick, where he throws his 2x4 in the air, and as Oshawott is distracted by that, because as you would be,
yes, I don't want to get hit in the head by a big piece of wood.
Freaking Timber, that's not a kick. He trips him.
Yeah, it was just a low kick. Just
it wasn't no damn kick. He fucking just schoolyard bully. Like, have a nice trip, and.
He is Trip's Pokemon.
Oh, boo, and Timber's able to catch his 2x4,
Ash tells Oshawott to use water gun. Trip tries to counter it with a strength, and he does. He swings the 2x4 like a baseball bat, kicks that water out of the way, jumps on top of his 2x4 by planting it in the ground. Oshawott goes in for a razor shell. Timber's going in for a strength attack. And it's
Dynamic punch.
Oh, dynamic punch, my bad. And Oshawott's attack ends up hitting. Timber goes back, and now it is one Ash Trip, or one Ash and one Trip. So they're down to their third Pokemon each, and Iris is in the corner thinking that this is a really, really great battle. Finally, so Ash calls back Oshawott, and who does he send out as his third Pokemon, Doug?
Well, it could be Pikachu, and he might have a catch chance in hell, but he says, no, I'm gonna get my starter some work, and he throws out his Tepig, and Tepig, as per usual, is just raring to go.
Yes.
And Trip doesn't have any surprises for us because he throws out his third Pokemon, and it's the first Pokemon of his we saw in this episode. It's the reintroduction of his Vanillite.
Which is dumb. Well, I mean, obviously he might have something up his sleeve, but ice is weak against fire.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, why would you do that? But Vanillite comes out, and it's ready to battle, Doug.
And as soon as Vanillite comes out, she does a little icebreaker crystal breath, and Axew and Iris are immediately just in the corner, just freezing, fuck cold, and the looks on Axew's face is like, it's like, I'm going to die.
Oh, I didn't even realize that. Iris even points out that Ash has the advantage because he has a fire-type Pokemon.
And, she kind of throws shade at Trip, and she's like, Ash totally has the advantage. And Trip's like, oh, wait and see, because I'm the heel, and I'm allowed to be cocky. And Ash is like, the fuck does he mean? And Trip pays Ash one of the most backhanded compliments I think I've ever heard. He goes, dealing with your off-the-wall battle style has given me a chance to become stronger. So he's like, I'm going to beat you at your own game. And Ash is like, I think that was a compliment, but we're still in battle mode, so I bet. And once again, Iris gets in with, they're both little kids. And even actually was like, yeah. And so Tepig has the first move, which shouldn't Trip have the first move? Because Ash had it in the last round?
Yeah, he should.
Bullshit. Where's the flag? What the fuck?
Well,
so
Trip didn't call it.
Yeah, yeah. So Tepig starts the battle with a flame charge.
Yes. And it's from here. Oh, sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
And it's from here that he tells Vanillite to use Ice Beam. Trip does, and it combines with Tepig. Everybody is in shock, and Trip is like, "What do you know? You put fire and ice together, and you end up with steam." And Ash is like, "What?" And Ash tells Tepig to keep running towards Vanillite. But Tepig can't really see, but he jumps up and he does like a little tackle attack against Vanillite. Vanillite falls back, and Trip tells Vanillite to use Icicle Spear, and Vanillite just comes back and just just spitting out all these icicles. Tepig comes back with an Ember attack, and it hits Vanillite right square in the face. And it's at this point that that Ash is surprised that Vanillite basically didn't melt. And Iris is like, well, obviously Vanillite is a well-trained Pokemon. And Trip is like, you bet it is. Use Ice Shards, Vanillite. And it does this Ice Shards move, and it just throws a whole bunch of ice cubes over at Tepig. And Ash is like, we're finishing this. Flame Charge again. And Vanillite comes back and counters with a Blizzard. And Tepig goes up. They collide. And Tepig goes back. Vanillite is no longer able to battle. And Tepig, oh, no, they're both huffing and puffing. And it's at this point that in the middle of it, they both fall to the ground. So it is a draw. So neither one of them win. Doug?
And, Ash says, oh, they're both down. And Trip goes, well, I can see that your battle style doesn't suit me at all. It's a dick thing to say, but it's a fair assessment.
It didn't help neither one Pokemon.
And, Trip calls back his Vanillite. He says, good job. And Iris is sitting there going, it's a tie. And actually was like, son of a... And, we go back to... Go over to Tepig, and Tepig's just sitting there like, son of a bitch. And, Ash goes over and he's like, that was a heck of a battle. You were great, and thanks for the effort. And, he calls back Tepig, and, Trip kind of stands there and he's like, well, that's that. He looks at his Pokeball and he goes, looks like Alder's just going to have to wait. And he says, well, Ash, it's a draw. Like we didn't all just say some form of it was a tie for the last 2 minutes. And Ash goes, yeah, but next time I'm going to win.
And Trip kind of walks away. Ash goes, well, next time I'm going to win. Trip goes on its way. He looks over at Pikachu, basically thanks Pikachu, and he's like, the next thing on my list is we're going to get Oshawott Aqua Jet down and get him to be able to look underwater. And Pikachu's like, Pika! And Iris is like, you're right, it's not quite there just yet. Or no, Ash is like, it's not quite there yet, but we're going to train hard. And Pikachu's like, yeah. He's like, and we'll meet the Unova Champion Master. Alder, here we come. And this is where the narrator is taking us out of the episode. We're panning out, looking at the mountains ahead and the clear blue sky. And then we're about to come back, but Ash or the screen pans back down, and he's like, wait a minute, I think we forgot about something. And it's at this point that Ash's like, I'm hungry. Silent, we forgot about Silent. And they just start running back, and Silent has made a full course meal, and he's like, man, lunchtime, or more like standing up chef time. So Silent's all satisfied at this point because he's prepared a full course meal, but a little ticked off because nobody's there to eat his food. So, and that's how we end this week's episode. Doug, what did you think of this week's episode?
That's how they end the episode. Like, they don't even meet up. We don't even get like a final line of Silent go, oh, better late than next time, and they sit down to eat. Like, they don't meet up.
Yep.
It's just the equivalent of a wrestling show running out of time with like 30 seconds after the main event.
So,
yeah, thoughts on the episode. It was really good. Like, it was completely simple. Like, it was bare bones. That's not a bad thing.
No,
because it was just Silent, Ash, Iris, and Trip, and their Pokemon.
So
nobody else. So just 4 people. No Team Rocket, which when it comes to Black and White is a little disappointing because Team Rocket and Black and White's actually competent.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, I know you were excited to cover this episode.
It to me it was a fairly good episode. I mean, at least I thought so.
No, I mean I liked it. I just I know you were excited to watch it because you're like it's completely battle centric and so yeah, I mean I'm confident in giving this episode a 4. I think I was teetering on a 4.5 if there would have been a winner, I think.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna go with a solid 4 this week, is what I'm gonna end up giving it. I thought the episode was fair. It's always nice to get a really good Pokemon battle in your episode. Kind of helps the episode kind of fly by a little quicker than having a bunch of dialogue or a whole bunch of nonsense happen in a Pokemon episode. So yeah, I'm gonna give it a good solid 4.
Solid 4. I mean, when you hit a 4 on an episode, you start looking. It's like if there was an evolution, if there was a little bit of Team Rocket that was relevant, that wasn't just shoehorned in for 5 minutes. Like I say, if there would have been a winner, somebody would have caught a new Pokemon.
Would have made it even more better.
Yeah. So I mean, like you hit 4s and you start looking for things to add rather than things to detract.
So, I mean, at this point, filler episodes do need to get a little bit more praise, but I feel like this one definitely needed some praise because I thought it was a fairly good episode. So,
yeah, I was thoroughly entertained because it would have been so easy to do like a battle for like say like 10 minutes or so.
Yeah. And
then just Team Rocket shows up and steals one of Trip's Pokemon or, all of Trip's Pokemon or something, and they have to work together. Obviously Trip gets his Pokemon back and he gains a little bit of respect for Ash, but he's still like, I could still kick your ass. And
which he could have. He could have used some of his other Pokemon and won that battle, but.
Oh, this is also true.
So. All right, but I'm gonna say that this was a good episode. Do you have anything else to add this week, bro, before we head off into the sunset?
Sunset.
Well, it's already nighttime, but for people listening to this episode.
No, this was a good episode, and I'm excited for next week's episode because for once in terms of Black and White, I went ahead and the multiple times that Ash told Oshawott that they were going to work on Aquajet, they actually followed through.
Yes, they did.
So I'm excited to cover that episode because that episode had some elements that I wasn't expecting.
It really did, and you have to pay attention to a lot of stuff too, because Oshawott is a real star this season so far. So, yes. So I'm very, very hyped to see where they're going to take that character. But all right, but yeah, that's for another episode. Might as well not talk too much about it, but go ahead and give your goodbye, Doug, for this week.
Bye, Doug.
And this is Professor Chris G telling all of you, don't miss next week's episode, everybody, and we will be back. So have a good night, and we will see you then.